She was my best friend. He was my husband. And they both lied to my face. I always thought betrayal would come with fireworks. A screaming match. A broken dish. A tear-streaked confession. But mine didn't come with any of that. It came in silence. In knowing glances. In the small spaces between trust and truth. Where the people I loved the most quietly decided I didn't deserve honesty. My name doesn't matter. But what happened to me might. Because this isn't just a cheating story. It's a double betrayal. And that changes everything. You see, I could have handled it if it had just been him. My husband. We'd been married 7 years. The kind of marriage people called stable. We had a daughter. A dog. Matching mugs from our honeymoon in Santorini. We had routines. We had trust. At least, I thought we did. And I could have handled it if it had just been a stranger. Someone I didn't know. Someone he met at a conference or a bar, or a one-night lapse in judgment. But it wasn't. It was her. Lena. My best friend since college. My maid of honor. My emergency contact. The person I called when my father died, when my daughter was born, when my marriage hit bumps. She was there. Always there. But not just for me. I didn't know it then, of course. How would I? You don't question the person who knows everything about you. You don't suspect the person who sends you good-night texts, and I'm proud of you, notes, and you deserve the world, voice messages. You don't look for lies in the people you trust to tell you the truth. And that's what made it worse. Because it wasn't just my husband's affair. It was her silence. Her help. Her hand in the lie. She didn't just know about it. She protected it. Covered for it. Helped organize it. And while I sat across from her, crying about my suspicions, she was sending him texts, telling him where I was, how much time he had, how to not get caught. So when people say, it's not the cheating, it's the lying, I want to scream. Because for me, it was both. And it was from both of them. I don't tell this story to make anyone feel sorry for me. I tell it because maybe you've been there, too. Maybe not this exact story, but a story where the people you trusted most teamed up in ways you never imagined. If you've ever felt like the walls were closing in, and the ones who were supposed to protect you were handing the bricks to your enemy, this story is for you. Because what hurts more than betrayal by one person is betrayal by two. And now, I'm going to tell you how it all fell apart. Before everything crumbled, I thought I had something unshakable. Our life was the kind people envied in quiet ways. The kind you scroll past on social media and pause for a second to think, they've really got it together. We lived in a calm suburb outside Chicago. A 2-story brick house with a maple tree out front, a swing on the porch, and solar-powered string lights that flickered every evening just after sunset. Kyle, my husband, was dependable. Not flashy, not overly romantic, but he showed up. He made the coffee every morning. He folded the laundry better than I did. He never forgot our daughter's pediatrician appointments, even when I did. He was the steady beat to my chaos, the calm voice in the whirlwind of my anxiety. We didn't fight much. We weren't perfect, of course, but we worked, and that mattered to me more than sparks or grand gestures. And then there was Lena. She wasn't just my best friend. She was family. The kind of person you don't even call best friend anymore, because it doesn't cover what she means. We met in our freshman year of college. She let me cry in her dorm the night my high school boyfriend dumped me. We moved into our first apartment together, shared clothes, jobs, secrets. She knew the names of my exes, my therapist, and the exact brand of mascara I cried off every finals week. When Kyle came into my life, Lena was the first to meet him. She approved instantly. "He looks boring enough to be safe," she joked. "You need safe." And he was. Safe, solid, kind. The three of us became our own little ecosystem. Lena would join us for dinner almost every Friday. She even had her own wine glass at our house, a silly blue one with Drama Queen printed on it. Kyle and Lena got along better than I expected. They'd banter like siblings, tease each other, talk about politics and movies in a way I sometimes tuned out of because they were so in sync. But I loved that. I loved that my two worlds, my partner and my soulmate friend, didn't just coexist. They flourished together. I felt lucky. Ridiculously lucky. The kind of lucky that makes you feel a little guilty in front of people who complain about their friends or their marriage. We were a team, a trio, the perfect couple with our third musketeer. If this were a storybook, I'd close the chapter here. Let you believe in that soft glow of loyalty and shared laughter. But stories don't end when you stop reading. And behind every filtered memory, there's a shadow you missed. And mine? Mine was already creeping in, right in front of me, in my home, wearing my best friend's smile. Looking back, I wish I could tell you there was one big moment, one unmistakable sign that screamed, "Something's wrong. Wake up." But that's not how betrayal works. It doesn't kick down the door. It seeps in quiet, careful, like a leak behind the walls. You only notice the damage when it's too late. It started with little things. Things you dismiss because you trust the people involved. Kyle began coming home later than usual. Not every night, just enough to be annoying. A late client meeting here. A surprise vendor dinner there. At first, I didn't think much of it. He worked in real estate. Schedules changed all the time. But then Lena started commenting before I even brought it up. "Oh, Kyle mentioned he'd be working late tonight, right? He told me this morning he had a showing at the north side around 7. And I remember pausing. Not because what she said was wrong. It wasn't. It was too right, too precise, too timely. I hadn't told her he was running late. I hadn't even checked the clock. But she already knew. Once? Coincidence. Twice? Still nothing. 3 times? My stomach started to twist. Then there were the times I smelled perfume on Kyle. Not mine. Not his mother's. Sweet. Too floral. Not subtle. I made a joke about it once. "You cheating on me with a receptionist?" I laughed. He shrugged, said he hugged a client. Lena rolled her eyes. "Relax. People wear heavy perfume. You're so paranoid," she added, almost annoyed. But it wasn't just the perfume. It was how Lena always defended him, even when I didn't ask. If Kyle forgot to call, Lena would say, "He probably got caught up. You know how he is." If I found receipts I didn't recognize, Lena would explain them away before I even had a chance to ask. "Didn't you two get takeout from there last week? I think Kyle mentioned that place. Maybe he grabbed lunch on the go." At the time, it felt like friendship, like support. Now I see it for what it was. Preemptive damage control. She wasn't reassuring me. She was covering for him. But I was so deep in the comfort of our routine, so convinced that betrayal couldn't live in my home, that I shut down every instinct whispering in the back of my mind. She's your best friend. He's your husband. They wouldn't do that to you. But maybe that's the trick. The worst betrayals aren't done by strangers. They're done by people who know exactly how to make you doubt yourself. And by the time I started asking the right questions, they'd already buried the answers. It was a Tuesday afternoon. One of those gray, lazy days where nothing feels urgent. Kyle had told me he had a client emergency and couldn't make it to our rescheduled counseling session. He'd been working on himself, or so he said. So I didn't push. I stayed home, folded laundry, made alphabet soup for our daughter, and tried not to spiral. Later that night, I went to hang up his coat. Something crinkled in the pocket. I almost ignored it, almost tossed it aside like every other stray receipt or gum wrapper he left behind. But something, maybe intuition, maybe exhaustion, made me unfold it. It was from a hotel, a boutique place downtown. Not far, not cheap. 2 wine glasses, 1 appetizer, 1 room, room 412. Date, that Tuesday. Time, 2:17 p.m. The exact time he was supposed to be meeting our counselor. The exact time he told me he was stuck at the office. I stared at that little slip of paper like it was a grenade in my hands. It didn't explode out loud. It exploded quietly, right inside my chest. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I sat on the edge of our bed, holding that receipt, blinking hard, trying to believe I was wrong, trying to believe there was some explanation. But no explanation made sense. So I did what I had sworn I would never do. I snooped. I waited until Kyle was in the shower and took his phone. Of course, it was locked. But I had something else. Lena's phone. She had left it charging in the kitchen earlier that week when she stayed over after a wine night. She never bothered to password protect it. She trusted me. Funny, right? I opened her messages. I didn't find anything overt, no confessions, no photos. But I found what I wasn't looking for. A thread with a contact saved only as K. I knew that K. I knew the rhythm of those texts. It was Kyle. Room booked. 2 p.m. Same place. She thinks you're at therapy. You've got until 4. I'll text her later about dinner. Cover story in place. My hands went numb. They weren't lovers. They were co-conspirators. Lena was helping him cheat. Not by accident. Not out of ignorance. She knew. She planned. She covered. All those times she reassured me. Don't worry, he's probably just tired. He said he was running late. You overthink too much. It wasn't comfort. It was strategy. And suddenly, everything made sense. The perfume, the receipts, the glances, the way she always had just the right excuse, ready before I even asked. I dropped her phone on the counter like it burned me. Because it did. It burned through every good memory we ever shared. And as Kyle walked out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, humming some stupid song he always sang after a shower, I looked at him and saw a stranger. A stranger I had married. A stranger I had loved. A stranger I had shared a daughter with. But the bigger betrayal was that I had shared my soul with someone who had quietly helped bury it behind my back. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, next to him, staring at the ceiling, wondering how someone could lie so easily, and then fall asleep so peacefully. I stared at the receipt. I stared at Lena's messages. I stared at my own reflection in the bathroom mirror, the one that didn't look like me anymore. And by morning, I knew what I had to do. I sent them both the same text. Dinner. My house. 7 p.m. Just us 3. Non-negotiable. Lena replied in minutes. Of course. Should I bring wine? Kyle didn't respond. He didn't have to. He knew. That night, I cooked. Not because I wanted to. Because I needed something to keep my hands busy. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just waited. 7:04 p.m. They arrived separately, but close enough to know they planned it that way. Lena in a soft cream sweater. Kyle in the same button-down he wore the night we signed our mortgage. I didn't hug either of them. Didn't invite them to sit. I just walked over to the kitchen counter and placed two things down. The hotel receipt and a printed screenshot of Lena's text thread with Kyle. For a full 10 seconds, no one said anything. Kyle looked at the papers, then at me, then back at the papers. Lena exhaled. That soft, controlled exhale she always did when caught in a lie, like releasing just enough air to survive the fallout. I spoke first. How long? Kyle opened his mouth, closed it. I'm not asking you to lie, I added. I'm asking you to choose whether you'll lie again. He sat down. 3 women, he said, over the last 2 years. The hotel, just one of them. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. That phrase stuck in the air like smoke. Then I turned to Lena. And you? She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just folded her arms and said, I wasn't sleeping with him, if that's what you think. I was just trying to help. To keep the peace. Help. You gave him alibis, I said. Because I knew how fragile you were, she shot back. You didn't need more chaos. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? By helping him lie? By sitting in my living room, sipping wine, asking about our therapy, while knowing he was screwing someone else behind my back? She said it like she believed it. Like she honestly thought she was the hero in this story. You don't betray someone to protect them, I said. You betray them because you've decided they're not worthy of the truth. Neither of them said anything. Not, I'm sorry. Not, you didn't deserve this. Not even, I regret it. Just silence. That was the moment I realized. They weren't sorry. They were just caught. I didn't cry that night. Tears are for grief. But what I felt was something colder, heavier. It wasn't grief. It was clarity. And sometimes that's worse. After they left that night, I sat on the floor of the kitchen for almost 2 hours. Not crying, not thinking, just existing, like a ghost in my own skin. The house was quiet, too quiet, like even the walls were holding their breath. I remember staring at the spoon in the sink, still dirty from the soup I made but never served, still warm from the stove I had turned off, still part of a life that no longer belonged to me. That night, I didn't sleep, and the next night, I barely ate. And then came the mornings. Mornings were the worst, because they made everything real again. I'd wake up, forgetting for a second, just 1 second, and then it would crash in. The truth, the images, their faces, their words. My daughter would ask, is Auntie Lena coming for pancakes today? And I would say something like, no, baby, not today. What else could I say? She betrayed your mother? She helped lie about your father? She was 3. She still wore glitter shoes and thought unicorns were real. I wasn't about to shatter her world, too. So I swallowed it. Every emotion, every question, every scream. I tried to journal. I tried to meditate. I tried to listen to sad music, hoping it would make me feel something other than numb. But nothing worked. I was functioning, but I wasn't alive. I drove my daughter to daycare. I smiled at neighbors. I replied to emails with phrases like, thanks for your patience, or looking forward to it. But inside, I was burning. And the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It wasn't even the humiliation. It was the self-doubt. How did I not see it? How could I be so blind? I replayed conversations with Lena in my head. I dissected every one of Kyle's late nights. I started to question every normal memory, wondering which parts were real and which were just well-rehearsed fiction. I felt like I was losing my mind. Eventually, I went to therapy, not because I believed it would fix me, but because I had no one left. Even my own family didn't understand. They said things like, "At least it wasn't physical with her," or "You're strong, you'll bounce back." But I didn't want to bounce. I wanted to disappear. My therapist didn't say much the first few sessions. She just listened. Let me talk or not talk. Sometimes I just sat there, eyes blank, wondering how the people I loved the most could be the reason I felt so empty. One day she asked me, "When was the last time you felt safe?" And I couldn't answer, because I realized I hadn't felt safe in years. Not with Kyle, not even with Lena, not really. I had just convinced myself I was. But the thing about hitting rock bottom, there's nowhere else to go. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something else. Not healing, not yet, but possibility. And when you've lost yourself, sometimes the possibility of becoming someone new is the only reason you keep breathing. People talk a lot about betrayal. They use it like it's one wound, one clean break. But they never talk about what happens when the betrayal comes from more than one direction. When the knife doesn't just hit your back, but twists in your chest and leaves fingerprints from two sets of hands. Because that's what double betrayal does. It doesn't just hurt you. It shatters your understanding of who you are safe with. I expected Kyle to lie. I didn't want him to, but I understood that possibility. He was a man, a husband, a flawed human. But Lena was different. She wasn't just a friend. She was my witness to every high and low of my adult life. She held my hair while I threw up from morning sickness. She helped pick out the dress I wore when Kyle proposed. She was in the first photo I posted after giving birth. She was the one I texted when I felt insecure, when I felt unloved, when I needed someone to remind me that I mattered. And she responded every time, with emojis, with encouragement, with love, while helping the man I married erase me behind closed doors. So no, her betrayal wasn't a side note. It wasn't collateral damage. It was intentional, and it cut deeper than anything Kyle ever did. Because Kyle broke my heart, but Lena broke my trust. And once that breaks, truly breaks, it doesn't rebuild the same way again. I find myself questioning every woman now. Not publicly, not rudely, just inwardly. When someone new laughs with my new partner, I watch, not jealously, but cautiously. When someone says, "You can talk to me about anything," I smile, but something inside me doesn't fully open. Because now I know. Some people say they love you while quietly building the alibi for your destruction. It's a lesson no one should have to learn. But once you do, you don't unlearn it. Therapy helped. Journaling helped. Time helped. But healing isn't just about forgetting. It's about reframing. I no longer see myself as the woman who got betrayed by her husband and her best friend. I see myself as the woman who walked through hell and came out carrying the fire that tried to consume her. I'm not grateful it happened. Let's be clear about that. But I'm grateful it's over. I'm grateful I can see clearly now. And most of all, I'm grateful that I didn't let their betrayal turn me into someone I'm not. I still believe in loyalty. I still believe in real friendship. And I still believe in love. But now, I believe in boundaries too. In listening to that gut feeling I used to silence. In asking the hard questions, even when the answers scare me. Because betrayal doesn't mean you were foolish. It means you were open. And being open is never the crime. What they did, that was the crime. And what I do now, with my voice, my healing, my story, is the sentence they'll have to live with forever. I don't tell this story for sympathy. I don't tell it to make anyone look bad or to make myself look brave. I tell it because someone out there, maybe you, knows what it's like to be betrayed, not by a stranger, not by an enemy, but by the people you let closest to your heart. It's a particular kind of pain, one that doesn't bruise your skin, but your memory. You start to question everything, not just what they did, but what you allowed. How didn't I see it? Was I too trusting? Did I make it too easy for them to lie? And the truth is, maybe you did, but that's not the failure. That's not your shame. You made it easy for them to be honest. They made the choice to betray that. That's on them. If you've ever had to sit across a dinner table, knowing someone there had been handing knives to your back, you're not alone. If you've ever stayed silent because the truth felt too loud to say out loud, you're not alone. And if you're still healing, still trying to remember what safety feels like, still flinching at the sound of their name, you are not broken. You are becoming. I'm not healed. Not completely. There are still days I drive past that hotel and feel my stomach tighten. There are nights I wake up from dreams where Lena is laughing, and I can't remember why I ever trusted anyone. But those moments don't define me anymore. They remind me of how far I've come. Because healing isn't a finish line. It's a decision you make over and over again. To get out of bed, to tell the truth, to keep your heart soft, even when the world tried to harden it. And maybe, most importantly, to share your story. So someone else out there, listening in their car, or lying awake at 2 a.m., knows they aren't the only one. If this story touched something in you, please say so. Drop a comment. Tell your truth. You never know who's scrolling through the dark, looking for a voice that says, I get it. And if you're still standing, after everything they took from you, after the lies, the silence, and manipulation, then let me tell you something. You've already won. Thank you for listening. And remember, the people who love you won't need a reason to tell the truth. The ones who do, you don't need them in your life. Like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe to Lies Unveiled for more stories that matter. And tell yours in the comments below.